Please remember that the complete information for the class that you are about to view is at elithecomputerguy.com. Not only do we have our videos there, but we have part lists, diagrams, pictures, and even complete code examples. So if you are watching this video and you want more information, please go to elithecomputerguy.com. Welcome back. As you know, I am Eli the Computer Guy. In today's class, I'm going to show you a brief introduction to HTML forms and input types. I will give you a warning on this particular class and the demonstration that I'm going to show you. And in order to do the full demonstration today, you're going to need to know a number of different types of technologies. This is going to be one of those places where in your technology education, you're going to have to be taught something that is most likely over your head, so that you can kind of end up piecing things together as you go to figure out what's going on. Again, in the technology world, one of the big problems we have is we have a lot of these different components that come together in order to create a finished product. And so sometimes in order to explain one part of the technology that you're going to use, you're going to have to talk about other things that people don't understand. And it's kind of one of those things where you learn about this, and then you learn about this, and then you learn about this, and 3 months from now you're like, oh, now I get how it works. So if what I'm showing you today seems a little bit over your head, if you are new in the technology world, it probably is over your head, but that's okay. Again, in order to learn all these different components, again, in the technology world, a lot of times you just got to start somewhere. It's just you dive in at this one place, you explain some stuff, then you dive in over here and explain some stuff, then you dive in over here and explain some stuff, and like I say, after a month or two, it all kind of congeals in your head, and you're like, oh, now I understand what he was talking about a month ago. So if you feel a little bit over your head today, don't worry, that is completely natural. What I'm going to be showing you, again, is dealing with multiple different types of technology, different products, and so if you don't fully grasp everything, that's okay. Just kind of focus on what I'm telling you about with these HTML forms. Let that sink in and go from there. So the warning for today is, in fact, that I'm going to use multiple different types of technology in order to show you the fully working demonstration. Again, as I've talked about in the past, HTML is simply like the beams, the rafters, the foundation of your web application. Then you use other programming languages in order to flesh out your web application to make it actually something functional. So again, if you want to make your website pretty, you'll use CSS. If you want to make it real-time interactive, you will use JavaScript, and if you want to communicate with a server, you will use a back-end languages such as PHP or Ruby on Rails. So when you're coding in HTML, it's very important to understand you'll be using these different languages. So the demonstration that I'm going to be showing you today is I'm going to show you how to create an HTML form. So you're going to create an HTML form. There's going to be a place for your name. There's going to be an option box, basically a drop-down box for your gender. I'm going to give you some radio buttons, going to give you some check boxes, the whole 9 yards. But how this works in an overall product is that HTML form will then submit the information to what I'm showing you today, a PHP script sitting up on a Linux server. So basically you have the HTML form, it's able to collect the values from your user, but when you hit the submit button, all of that information using what is called the post method will send that to a script up on a server. That script will then parse and be able to read through and do something with the values that have been presented with it. So what I'm showing you today, in order to make the final demonstration that I'll show you, is not only do we have the HTML document, the HTML form that I've created, but I've also written a simple PHP script. I have then put that on a LAMP, a Linux Apache MySQL PHP virtual server that I have on my demonstration system. So in order to show you how a form actually works, not only will I be showing you the form itself, but I will be showing you the PHP script. And again, that will be on a full-fledged web server that's sitting within a virtual machine. So that's a bit of the warning today. Again, to be clear, if this seems like it's a little bit over your head, that is fine. That is natural at this point. You just learn all these different things, and then again, at some point, you just kind of duct tape it all together, and then you will finally grasp how all of it works. So with that, let's go over to my demonstration computer, and I can show you how to create an HTML form. So here we are at my demonstration machine. Again, since we're writing this out in HTML, I'm simply using TextEdit. All you need is an ASCII text editor to write out HTML code. So if you're in the Windows world, use Notepad. Again, in the Mac world, use TextEdit. If you're in the Linux world, use gedit, Nano, Vim, whatever you want. The main thing is when you go to save the file, make sure you save it with an extension of .htm or .html. Now, it is important to understand, in order to simply view this form, you can simply save this on your desktop, open it up in a web browser, and you will be able to view it. The issue when you need the server and all that type of thing is actually to run the script. So basically this form will pass the values to a script. That script will then run and do something with the values that it was given. So for that part of this whole thing that I'm showing, this demonstration, you do need something like a LAMP server. But simply to view the form itself, you can simply save it on your desktop and simply open it up on a web browser. It just simply will not function when you hit the submit button. So let's first here actually take a look at the finished results of this particular form. So when we've typed all this out in HTML, this was what it'll look like when it opens up in the web browser. It's going to ask for your name. It's going to be an option box for your gender. It's going to be check boxes for why do you want to work for this job? Basically, why do you want this job? So you can select multiple different options or a single option here. Then we have a t-shirt size, a radio button, small, medium, or large, then a preferred shift radio button, morning, afternoon, or evening, and then we have the submit button. So basically when you click the submit button, this will send all of these values to whatever script that you have coded into the HTML form. So this is what the HTML form will look like when we're done coding it. So with that, let's go and actually take a look at the HTML code. So as again, with everything in the HTML world, it's all about tags. So for a form, you need a form tag. So we're going to open the form tag. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to say what the action is. When somebody hits the submit button, where does the data go, basically? So the action equals, then you put double quotation marks, and then whatever the path is to the script that you want these values to go to. So this is /parseform.php. So again, I've put this HTML document and the parseform.php script in the same directory on my LAMP server that's sitting in a virtual machine. So basically it will pass all the values here to this parseform.php script. Then it's going to say what is the method. There is a get and a post method. We'll probably talk about those later. I'm just using something called the post method here. You have to have either get or post, and it gets a little quirky when actually using it in a script, but let's just say I'm using the post method here. So basically you just have to say what method it is, and then you close the opening of the tag. Now we're going to go down, and then for the text, you'll notice here I don't really have any formatting for the text, again, to make life easier. So it's easier for you to read the code that I actually want you to learn. I'm not using P tags or H tags or anything like that. I'm simply writing these things out in standard text, and then that will show up in the web browser as standard text. So what we have here is I simply have name. So the text name will show on the form, name, and then we have a text box. So basically what this is we have input types, and so what we're going to do is we're going to have a tag for an input type of it's going to be a type text. So you do input type equals text. So basically the value that goes into this particular field on the form is text, and then you're going to have to give this text box a name. This name is used by the script that will be parsing the values that will be coming to it from this form. And so basically you have to name everything, so then you can turn those values into a variable on the other side. So basically we have name, so it'll be input type equals text, name equals name, and then we are going to simply break line. So this creates a text box here, and this text box name will be name. Then we're going to go down, gender. So again, I'm simply printing out gender, normal text, and then right beside it is the option button. So with the option button, so you do select, and then again we have to name. So all of these fields we have to name, so that when the values go to the script is actually able to determine what's what. So for this, we're going to name it gender. So basically, we're going to send a value with the name of gender to the PHP script. Then we do option value equals, and for this one, double quotation mark, nothing, double quotation mark. Basically, it means there's no value here at all. So you didn't select boy or girl or anything. And then between the opening of the option tag and the closing of the option tag, I've put nothing there. And so again, if I click on this, you'll notice the first option is completely blank, and it's blank because we didn't put anything there. Then we go down the next option value, so option value equals and boy. So the important thing to understand when you're looking at this is this value right here, this right here, this is what's actually going to get passed to the script, to the PHP script. This is what is going to be viewed on the HTML form. So again, if I do click gender, you'll see boy is uppercase B-O-Y, girl is uppercase G-I-R-L, right? And so basically when people are looking at this, that's what they'll see. This is the actual value that will be sent to the PHP script though. So again, remember in the coding world, most of the time capitalization matters. So uppercase B, lowercase o-y is different than all lowercase b-o-y, which is different than all uppercase b-o-y. So one of the things you're going to have to be thinking about with these values is what is your naming convention? What is the syntax that you're going to use? So for me, I just leave everything as lowercase to make my life easier. So these are the values that are actually being passed to the PHP script. These are what is actually going to show up in the option box. So then we're going to go down, and then we're going to close this select. So again, the select, that creates this option box. Select opens, then select close, then I'm going to do break line, then I'm going to do break line, and so that's going to break the line from here and then give us a space before why do you want the job. Then again, in simple basic text, I'm just saying why do you want the job, then we're going to do break line again, and then now we're going to have an input type of checkbox. So again, we had an input type of text up here, this is an input type of checkbox, so that's what these little boxes are. Name, and so the name, this is going to be how the PHP script is able to differentiate the variables. And so I'm going to name this one fun, and then it's going to print out fun right beside it. So we have a checkbox named fun, and then I'm just labeling it fun right beside it. Input type checkbox name equals networking, and then I'm putting networking beside it. So again, we're naming this networking. Then I'm just telling the person what they're clicking on. And then input type checkbox work experience. And you notice this is all one word here. Again, I put the little capitalization for the E. That's just one of my naming conventions that I do. So this is the name that will be passed to the PHP script, but this is what is actually shown on the page, the work experience, and you can see the work experience here. Now it is important to understand with this, with these checkboxes, you can select any, all, one, so on and so forth. And so the values here will be individually sent. So for gender, the name is all grouped together and then one value is sent. For the radio box, it's all grouped together and one value is sent. For these, individual values will be sent. I think I'll be able to show you that a bit easier when we look at the PHP script. Then we're going to go down. We're going to take a look at the shirt size. So again, just printing out shirt size in normal text. We're going to break the line. Then we're going to have an input type of radio, and the name here is going to be shirt size. So for all of these, since it's a group, right, they'll have the same name. So the PHP script knows that they're within the same group. And so they're all named shirt size. Then the first one, the value is going to be small. Second one, its value is medium. Third one, value is large. And then right beside that, I'm simply printing out in text, small, medium, and large with break line, and break line. So we go back here, we can see t-shirt size break. We can see the radio button for small, then we see small. Radio button for medium, we see medium. Radio button for large, we see large. Then we break to go to a new, to put out an additional line. So then we can go down here, we print out preferred shift. Again, we break line, so it goes down to the next line. Input type again is radio, but here you'll see the name is shift. So the name for here is shirt size, the name for here is shift, and again, these are the names that group these radio buttons together. And so for this, we have the shift group. We have a value of morning. Then we print out morning beside it. We have a value of afternoon. We print out afternoon beside it. We have a value of evening, and we print out evening beside it. Of course, we have the break lines to put all these on different lines. And if we go take a look here, again, we have morning, afternoon, and evening. Finally, down at the bottom, we have the input type of a submit button. So if you want a submit button, you actually, because again, you need to code how somebody is actually able to submit this form up to whatever script it's supposed to be submitted to. And so you put a submit button, so input type equals submit value. You just simply put submit, and then that gives us the little submit button down here. And so this gives us the form. Now, again, this is going to be a little bit out of your pay grade, but I just kind of want to give you an idea of what a PHP script looks like. So again, here, we're going to send all of these values to the parseform.php. And so if we take a look here, we can see what this basic PHP script looks like. If you don't fully understand what's going on, to be clear, that is a-okay. I just want to give you a brief overview. So with this, we're going to be opening up this PHP script, and then we're going to have to create all of the variables and then set the values of the variables that we're going to be dealing with. So all I want to do for this particular script is I just want to print out the information that this form is giving, just so I can prove that the form is actually working properly and submitting the values to the PHP script. So I could create all of these variables, set the values, and then submit the information into a MySQL database, or submit it into a form, or do something else. All I'm doing with this particular PHP script is simply printing it out to the screen. So I'm going to create a variable called $name, and then again, you can see that method post. So the variable $name, the value for it is going to be what comes in as a post with a name of name, right? So name is going to be the value of whatever is in that name field. So again, we look here, input type text, name equals name. So this is going to get passed to the PHP script here. Then I'm going to create the variable $name and then set the value to whatever that is. Same is true with gender. So again, we have the name of gender, then we have the different values here. The value will be sent. We are grabbing it here, and then we are assigning whatever that is to $gender. Then, as I was talking about before with the checkboxes, see these checkboxes? These are all going to be individual variables. They're not actually grouped together. So we're going to have $fun, $networking, a work experience. And we're going to set the value of fun, the value of networking, and the value of work experience to what comes in for fun, networking, and work experience. Again, the name of fun, networking, and work experience. This is going to be what is basically called a bool or a boolean. What that means is either true or false, or on or off. And so basically all that's going to be sent is whether or not that one of those fields was actually checked off. And I'll show you that when I actually run the script itself. Then we're going to go down to shirt size. Those are radio buttons. And again, we have the shirt size here. You pick a value. That value is sent under the name of shirt size. That is grabbed here, and then we assign the value to that, to the variable shirt size. The same is true with shift. Then if you look down here at all of these echo statements, all I'm doing is I'm simply printing out name colon, and then whatever the value of the name variable is, breaking line, gender colon, whatever the value of gender is, break line, once fun colon, whatever the value of fun is, break line, once networking colon, whatever the value of networking is, break line, once work experience colon, $work experience, whatever the value for work experience is, break line, shirt size, same as true, and then shift, what shift you want, and the value of shift, and then that will finish the page. So in order to actually see this work in the real world, let me pull up the virtual machine that I've created. Let me log into my virtual machine with my super secret password of 123456. And I'm going to close this, and basically, so this is the form that I've set up within this particular server. So this is a full-fledged LAMP server. I'm using Ubuntu 18.04, the graphical user interface. I've installed Linux Apache MySQL PHP onto the server, and then I've basically just simply gone to the website within the server itself. So this form has come up, and I can come here, and I can say Bob McMahon. I can say Bob McMahon is a boy. I can say, why do I want the job? I want it for fun and work experience. My t-shirt size is large, and I like a preferred shift of afternoon. I then hit submit. And again, all this is doing is showing you that the form is in fact passing the values to the PHP script, and then the PHP script is simply printing them out. To be clear, the PHP script could dump this into a MySQL database or something else. So we see name of Bob McMahon, we see gender of boy. Again, you see it's lowercase. And then what you see here is I said once fun. So once fun is on. Once networking, nothing there since I didn't check it off. Once work experience, on. So I checked those two off, and so those are now set to on. So I could do something with that if I wanted. Again, shirt size is large, shift is afternoon. Again, I can go back. I could click on networking. I could say Sue McGurley. I could call her a girl. She could want a small t-shirt size. She could want the morning shift. Again, I hit submit just so you can see. Again, everything is dynamic. It's going through. And so this is basically how HTML forms work. So you can have a text box, you can have an option box, you can have checkboxes so people can select multiple or none. You can have radio boxes, so on and so forth. And there are actual other fields you can use in HTML forms that you can research if you want to. But that's really all there is to HTML forms. Again, this is the form itself. And then in order to make the form do something that you care about, that's where you need some kind of script and possibly server, so on and so forth. So there you go. Now you know how to create an HTML form. You know how to do a text box, a checkbox, an option box, a radio buttons. You know how to create the submit button. You know how to actually do something with the values that somebody puts into that form. That's another class. I actually have a whole series on MySQL and using MySQL and PHP, and I actually have a number of classes using HTML forms to submit data to a PHP script, and then have that PHP script then be able to interact with a MySQL database. So you may want to take a look at those particular classes. Again, if you feel as if what I talked about today, some of what I talked about today was over your head, don't worry about it. Again, this is one of the problems you get into with trying to teach technology, is you have to, it's one of those things, like in order for you to do something, many times you have to know multiple different products, and they all work together. So one of the issues you run into is, how do you teach the whole thing when people don't understand this other stuff, but to understand this other stuff, they need to understand this? And it's kind of one of those things that in the tech world, sometimes you just have to dive in. You spend 2 or 3 months learning all of these different things, and then at some point it all kind of congeals in your head, and you're like, oh, now I understand what's supposed to be happening. So again, like with an HTML form, yes, you need to know HTML, and you need to know a backend scripting language, and you most likely need to be able to spin up a web server. And once you have all of that, then you can actually do something possibly useful. So again, pretty simple. Just play around with it, see what you can do. As always, I enjoyed doing this class. I look forward to seeing you on the next one. If you like the content that I create, please think about going to elithecomputerguy.com and becoming a member or donating. Please understand that all of the educational videos are in front of the paywall. That includes the videos, that includes the notes, the diagrams, and the code example. All of that is freely available and in front of the paywall. But if you want to watch opinion videos, or if you want to be able to comment, you do need to become a member. Membership is $5 a month or $60 a year, and gives you access to those opinion videos and the ability to comment. If you don't want to become a member, you just want to give a one-time donation, there's also a donate button where you can do that. Please understand, in order to provide the education that I am, it does cost money. Servers cost money, equipment costs money, travel costs money. All of these things cost a reasonable amount of money, and the fact of the matter is YouTube's advertising program no longer supports creators the way that it used to. So if you want these classes to continue to stick around and you find them to be valuable, please think about either becoming a monthly member or donating a few dollars for this project.